Good morning and welcome back to Sun Upon 7. Just before the break, we had a dynamic couch talk as usual, but now we're jumping into our first segment. And we're here joined with the Lupus and RA Association of Belize. And we have via Zoom, I believe, Ms. Arlette Gomez, who is the president of the association, Ms. Dejanira Thompson Hagar, who is the vice president, and Dr. Jorge Hidalgo, who's an internist. And we're here talking about Lupus Awareness Month. What is lupus and what activities they have planned for Lupus Awareness Month? So good morning to all of you, to you. I don't believe we have Ms. Arlette on Zoom as yet. But how are you both doing this morning?
Good morning. And
Good.
All right.
thank you for having us.
Yesterday, there was a talk with Best Fit Pharmacy about Lupus Awareness Month and some of the things that they've been doing to help support. But let's educate our audience a bit as to what exactly lupus is.
Okay. Well, good morning, and thank you for having us this morning. The first thing we need to talk about is the immune system. And I think so. One of the most important organs in our body is our immune system, and that's the immune system that keeps us alive. I mean, the immune system is our army in the body. I mean, that we have all the different strategies and everything built in our body. But what happens when we have an autoimmune problem is that our army, you have this group of soldiers that essentially start to fight each other in a simple way. I mean that when we have an autoimmune problem, essentially the body is attacking itself.
Okay.
I mean that's the reason, or that's one of the main problems with lupus. Now, the problem with these autoimmune disorders is that we don't know exactly what causing it. Like in the case of lupus, we see that is a genetic predisposition, some environmental factors also. I mean but we don't know exactly what is causing it. I mean that essentially what happened in lupus is that this problem with the immune system, it causes a tremendous inflammation response in the body. And then in lupus in particular, any organ, it can be affected. That's why it's called a systemic erythematous lupus, because it can affect any organ. And the presentation, it varies, meaning that not every patient is going to have the same symptoms.
Okay.
Some patients are going to start with just a generalized fatigue. We feel very tired, the patient starts to lose hair, and probably that's the only symptom they have, tiredness and fatigue. Some others, they probably will present the most classic symptoms, that we have a rash in that area, in the malar area. We call it a butterfly rash.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you see anything in the internet, they will describe the butterfly rash. But this is one of the most common symptoms, but not everybody will present the same.
Right.
Some others will present with use and skin problems, arthritis, and some other more rare presentation. It could be heart issues or mental problems. I mean, the symptoms, it varies. No?
For knowledge purposes, is lupus more specific to a certain gender? What age range normally people would be able to realize they have lupus, so people can be able to say, okay, I need to be checking what's happening with my body? Because you mentioned a lot of symptoms, which went from, minor to very severe. And you know what? Even hair loss could be very severe to somebody too as well.
Exactly.
So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, lupus is more common in women, in a ratio of 10 women for 1 male.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's something that we need to have in mind. No? The other situation is, we don't know exactly the groups, but certain ethnicities are more prone to lupus. No? But that's essentially what we see. The ages, it range between 20 to 50 years old. That is the most common group of age that is affected. But again, we see children as well as we see people after 50 presented with lupus, but more commonly between 20 and 50 years old. That's the age of group.
And so for that, the medication, is it like, I know for like MS or so, it's a lifelong, every single month you have to be getting this medication. For lupus, how is it when it comes to medication? Is it like something where you can skip a week? Like what's that like?
Okay, I mean, as I say at the beginning, the symptoms vary. We can have a severe case of lupus and we have a mild case of lupus. But as I also mentioned at the beginning, lupus is an inflammation. It's a very, very strong inflammation problem. I mean that the how we basically do our treatment strategy. The first most important thing is that we need to try to contain the inflammation response. I mean that basically the treatment is in steps. The first step is to contain the inflammation response. I mean that trying to put the army in order.
Yeah, because it's fighting itself
Exactly.
right now.
And then when we have this army in order, we need to contain them in a room.
They don't attack everybody
exactly.
else.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Ms. Hagar, so as Vice President of the association, could you share somewhat the prevalence of lupus here in Belize? What's the number of affected persons with lupus, if you have?
Well, to be honest, that's the issue. That's why we created this in 2015, is because we wanted to raise awareness, because I got sick at the age of 14. So Dr. Hidalgo is my personal doctor. He knows me for over a decade, and we've been through hell and back, I would say. When I was diagnosed, I had no idea what it was. My aunt was the one. I was lucky enough to have a doctor in the family. She detected the rash. I just thought it was okay, I'm in the sun too much and this and that. When they told me I was positive and everything, I was like, okay, cool. what's that?
Because your symptoms weren't like that severe, so you didn't see like that?
The way my symptoms started, it was just fatigue, heavy fatigue. And in the evening when I would come home, I would go nap and have slight fever, and that was not common for me. And then, of course, the rash. And after that is when I started having, well, to be very, very honest, I'm not proud, but as a teenager, I didn't properly follow Dr. Hidalgo's rules. I was in the sun. We had to, we had to find the medication exact for me. And I think we took like 10 years to have me stabilized in a sense.
Wow.
My last crisis was 2015, actually. I was in a coma. My lungs had collapsed. And I thank God and I thank the doctors at Carl Hirschner. But that's how, he explained it goes from minor to severe. But from maybe 3 years back, I've been stable. Yes, I do have pain sometimes that I can't bear, but it's treatable. And that's what we're trying to do with the association, to raise awareness, one, because people might feel like, okay, well, I've never heard about this, it's scary. There's a confusion that it's a type of cancer. It is not. We use a lot of cancer treatments, the same medications, but it's not. I personally think it's more manageable, not trying to compare the two, but it's something that you can live with for the rest of your life, as long as you have to be very self-aware. And the key thing is to have a great support. That's what got me through, because May is also mental health awareness, and I believe that goes hand in hand with any autoimmune, including RA and lupus. And that's what we're trying to create for Belize, a support group, because there's no cure yet. As Dr. Hidalgo said, we attack the things by symptoms, because you can't really attack lupus itself. You just treat the symptoms that comes up. And that is why recently we've tried to raise donations, because it's very expensive, as you mentioned, and a lot of people can't afford it. So we got a grant last year from Auxiliary Global, and we had 4 medicine drives assistance, last year. that we were able to help our members. And that includes, we have one of our members that has to do still, kidney dialysis, and that's really expensive. I think it's like at $800 for one, and she has to do, I think, like 2 for the month or so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we try to help as much as possible. That's why we try to raise funds, and in the month of May, we try to do all different kinds of events and to just keep it going and have people know that, okay, you have these symptoms. It might not be lupus, but just to make sure, just so you can know, go check yourself out. Yes, you have a rheumatologist. We don't have that in Belize, but I think Dr. Hidalgo is the best, like experienced doctor here when it comes to lupus. Apart from that, we would have different bake sales. We have pop day. We'd have all the other stuff that we would try to pretty much just try to gain money and be able to help the community and build like something where you don't feel alone, where you feel understood. Because, for example, my mom, she's the closest person to me, and she has been in the hospital, and sometimes she'd be like, I don't know what you're feeling. And then I would talk to like Miss Arlette that is joining us. I would tell her my eyelashes hurt today, and she's like, I know what you mean. And if I tell somebody that, they'll be like, what? Is that like, possible?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So that's what we tried to create. We have the Facebook page for that. So I'll let Ms. Arlette take over and tell you a little bit more about that.
Hi, Ms. Arlette. Can you
Good morning, Ms. Arlette.
Hi, good morning, guys. Thank you guys for having us. Good morning, Doc. Dejanira says that Doc is her personal doctor. He's so many of us personal doctors. He gets embarrassed sometimes when we say it, but I say he's my hero because without him, I would not have been able to do quite a lot of the things that I am able to do now, because he doesn't only give us medical attention, talks to us, he gives us that emotional support. He lets us understand what it is that we're going through. So, Doc, we cannot say thank you enough for that.
Okay, Ms. Arlette, so it's Lupus Awareness Month, and the association, we understand, is doing fundraising. Could you tell us some of the activities that we have planned for this month?
Well, we have 3 coming up, like Dejanira was mentioning. We have 3 coming up on Saturday the 14th. We have a bake sale at the Brody's Northern parking lot. So come out and support us, or donate some kind of pastries or something for us to sell, or any kind of food for us to sell there, so that we can raise funds to assist our fellow Lupis. And then on May 20th is the Pop Day, Put On Purple. We're asking people to flood the world in purple so that we can continue to create the awareness of lupus, so that we can help people to understand better, and that we can also help our Lupis with all the different initiatives that we have in place. We ask businesses to buy our T-shirts and have your staff wear them on that day. Or we just ask you to put on something purple. If they don't want to buy the T-shirts, ask their staff to put on purple and make a collection on our behalf. We would greatly appreciate that. And so that is on May 20th. Our T-shirts cost $20, and there will be other little things that we will have for sale also to help us to create, to get some funding so that we can create the awareness. And then on May 28th is our annual Lupus Walk. We were not able to do that for 2 years because of the pandemic, but so we're back, and we will be doing that. The route of that is that we start on Central American Boulevard at the Civic Center. We go into Central American Boulevard, and then we take a left into Cemetery Road, over the Pongyard Bridge into Orange Street, a right into Albert Street, a left into King Street, another left into Regent, a right over the Swing Bridge, and a right to Memorial, into Northfront Street to Memorial Park. Oh. Again, we ask persons to come out, put on your Lupus shirts, come out and help us again to show people that, we are in this together, and we want to continue to create the awareness so that people can be more educated on lupus and what those of us who have the disease are dealing with. There will be a rally also after the walk. The walk starts at 5 p.m. Normally we do it in the evening because those of us who have lupus are sensitive to the sun, and so we do it in the evening.
Thank you for pointing that out. I know, Dejanira, you had said that just now that
Yeah.
you weren't following Dr. Hidalgo's
Yes,
advice
yes.
and going out in the sun, but that's a very interesting thing on it. When you said 5 p.m., I'm like, what? But then
It makes
made
sense.
sense afterwards.
Right.
And I think
right.
I like the evening walk too as well. I mean, after you finish everything you need to do in your day, it's not nice where we could just like put on your purple shirt and go out and stand in solidarity and walk in solidarity.
And it's not a long walk either.
No, it's not.
It is, so you don't feel
And
like
for
you lose breath.
Right. And for those of you who do your exercise, don't do it in the morning. Do it with us in the evening on May 28th.
See, that makes perfect sense. And
Right.
again, can you say again the route for people to know?
Okay, sure. We start at the Civic Center and down Central American Boulevard, with a left around the roundabout into Cemetery Road, over Ponyard Bridge, into Orange Street, a right into Albert Street, a left into King Street, a left into Regent, over the Swing Bridge, and a right into Northfront Street, and we end at Memorial Park.
Awesome. And I'm believing that the Facebook page will have all the events listed out, so in case people can't make one, they can make the other, because I know there's a bake sale happening on Saturday, but people can also still just send in and buy a shirt, buy a cup or whatever, because there's a lot of goodies I see here too as well. So all of these also will be able to be purchased when you do the bake sales, or where can
Yes.
people get
Yes.
these items?
So this will be available at the bake sale as well. Of course, Best Fit Pharmacy, they reached out to us and they donated these cups.
Okay,
And then
right.
we are working in collaboration with Print Inc. for the t-shirts. And then the other little
Keychains.
accessories,
Yes.
they were donated by a member as well. The mug is $25. The keychain is $5. The magnets are $5 and $10, and then the T-shirts are $20. And like you said, anybody can contact us via the Facebook page. It's Lupus and RA of Belize. The flyers are there, and someone will try to answer you, because people got to remember it is a volunteer job, and we try our best to be there for people, but we kind of have to gauge our energy.
Right.
We don't want to be running to the
you
hospital.
saying that too as well, because I think people automatically think if I message that I have to get this quick reply. We live in a life where everything is supposed to be quick, but we have to understand, like you said, it's volunteers. So sometimes
Yes.
you're not feeling your best self today,
Right.
and you can't answer as quickly, but you will be answered.
And that's something that must be pointed out. Our executive consists of people that suffer from lupus or RA, and sometimes, I mean, we can't just sit back there and just decide to, oh my God, I don't want to work, or I don't want to get up. Sometimes you do gotta take the day off, but other times you have to push.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to create in Belize, and to really just say that it's not the end of the world. It's not a death sentence.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the perception that people have, and they get frightened. And I keep saying emotional support and your mental health is such a key thing. And I am one of the lucky ones to always have that. And like Ms. Arlett said, Dr. Hidalgo is also that for a lot of patients. And that is also important, to have a very good doctor on your side who has the experience of knowing what to do.
I think what's super important about your story as well as Ms. Arlett's story is we need to understand our status. I think there's a lot of fear when it comes to diseases in general.
Yeah.
People don't want to learn these things. You mentioned that you had it at 14. Doc says how sometimes it's age 20 to 50 or
Right.
so is much more prevalent. But I think the minute you think you have something, or you can go and talk to your doctor, it's super important to have those conversations.
Exactly.
Because people don't want to have the conversation
And
sometimes.
That's what I was going to ask you, Dr. Hidalgo. How does one go about getting diagnosed for lupus?
Okay. Well, the most important thing is that everything, as in all medical conditions, is that we need to start to recognize that something is going wrong.
Yeah.
And then if we start to recognize that something is going wrong, then we need to look for medical attention. And then the diagnosis of lupus is one is based on the medical history of the patient, and the second part is we need to run some tests.
Okay.
And that's also the other part where it became a little bit costly because the specific group of tests to help us to confirm our diagnosis, we need to send it to Miami, and it could be, and it's costly, you know. That's the other part.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. I think that's a game changer too for people to be on the lookout and see, because if you have to be able to send a test, or some people they'll have to wonder, but the previous test before getting to that final test, I think will also help you to steer and know more or less where you're going. Naturally, I don't think people just go to the doctor and say, I think I have lupus. I don't, no, I don't think that's a normal common thing.
People don't even go to the doctor, they're afraid.
That is true too as well. And so people don't give themselves self-diagnosis. Sometimes when they check Mr. Google, which is not very helpful sometimes, to throw that out there. So I think that's really important to have that conversation and maybe run all the necessary tests before you have to do that last test.
Exactly. Usually we do that. No? We start with, the initial clinical approach. We run the preliminary testing, and then we need to send those final group of tests abroad.
Yeah. That is normally the process. Yes, Ms.
Arlette?
I would like to mention also too that the way we look at it is that any day that we can get up out of our bed is a good day. And like Dr. Hidalgo is saying, it is hard to diagnose. It took 2 years for me to be diagnosed, and I had about 3 surgeries before I was diagnosed with lupus. I was 42 years old when I was diagnosed with lupus. And so you live with it. It's important that you have that support. That is why we're trying to create the awareness that we're creating. The families need to be educated on what we're going through so that they can help us through when we're having these flares. They can help us emotionally, physically. Some of us need it financially because it is so expensive. So the creating of the awareness is very, very important. And we're hoping that we can continue to do this and not just wait until May when it's Lupus Awareness Month. We can do this throughout the year to be able to continue to educate persons on what it is that lupus is. Because we get remarks like, what is lupus? Oh, but you don't look sick. Degenerate, and I always have this running joke, not because you see us pretty, that means we're not sick, you know? So these are some of the things that we need to dispel and get people to understand that you don't have to see it, but we're feeling it, and we ask people to appreciate it, to appreciate what we're going through, and to help us to continue to create this kind of awareness. And so for organizations and the media houses like yourselves, we will be forever grateful that you give us these opportunities, and you guys have given it to us multiple times, even when it's not Lupus Awareness Month. And so we are very appreciative of that, because then the more we talk, the more people know.
I just want to say, Ms. Arlette, a good perk that you guys can actually sell lupus with, in a way, I'm not saying sell it like that, but people think, it's a diagnosis of, hell or whatever it is you want to think, but you guys look so gorgeous. So you can say, we look totally fine and we have this, meaning you can live with this, you can have a normal life with it, you will have off days. And what I think is super important for the public to really remember is that this association provides with that emotional community support where they educate the family members, that people can understand this overall diagnosis, understand the journey that they're going to have. Like you mentioned so great that how Miss Arlette knows that when your eyebrows are hurt, your eyelashes are hurt. I would never think about that, but it's great to be able to have a conversation with somebody that's experiencing the same thing or understands what you're going through. And so for people out there...
Very important, which is why we have the support group that we have.
Right.
And that's very important because we share our experiences. We share what we're going through. We compare what we do, what medication we're taking. We keep sending people to Dr. Hidalgo.
You sound like I have a handful, Doc.
Yes. We keep sending people to him. And again, the expenses of the disease is so high, because we have to travel abroad to see a rheumatologist. I have not had to done that in many years. Well, I lived outside of Belize for a while, so I was able to find one. But when I'm living in Belize, Dr. Hidalgo is our go-to person, and that helps us. But for those persons who have to travel abroad, for those persons who are sometimes on 11 different medication, we understand how costly it is, and that is why we work so hard to create the medical assistance program that we have. And since the pandemic, we have been doing it every quarter, and we have only been able to do that because of the assistance we've gotten from Auxiliary Global. They gave us a donation specifically for medical assistance. And because of their assistance in 2021, we were able to broaden and help a little bit more in what we were doing. We were able to assist persons with dialysis, which we all know is very expensive. We were able to assist with somebody to go abroad to see their doctor in Merida. And we've been able to pay a little bit more towards the medical assistance for our members. So without Auxiliary Global, we might not have been able to do it every quarter. And so we have to be very grateful for them. There are so many other organizations that we have to say thank you to, you know?
So, Ms. Arlette, I definitely see that you guys are getting the support. It's now time for the public out there to get the support too. Remember, it's not just for this month of May. Like, it does not stop here. There are T-shirts, cups, mugs, magnets, all these different things that actually can start a conversation that can also bring the awareness as well to people to understand what is lupus. And this is where you learn a little nugget here and there to be able to tell somebody like, well, I know this, I know that. And so thank you so much for coming on and letting people get that awareness. Remember, it's the entire month of May. So you need to check out the Facebook page for all the activities that they have planned. And remember, even after May, you can still support people in the diaspora. Guys, you can always donate. I'm sure contact them on their Facebook page. They will definitely gladly take a donation from you with no problem. Remember, it's helping towards supporting all of the great work that they do when it comes to supporting with their support groups, with their medications, all these different things. So,
and I know that we have limited time, but we must really and truly, we have to say thank you to BEL, to BWS, to Print Inc. We have to say thank you to Best Fit Pharmacy, to Full Tech. These companies have been constant support for us over the years, and they've continued to do it annually. And so we have to really and truly say thank you, because without them, we will not be able to do a lot of what we're doing. Voice International has been very, very supportive also. So we have to really continue to say thank you. And then thank you to the executive, because if we were not pushing, we would not be able to achieve a lot of what we're doing right now.
All
Definitely.
right.
So,
big congratulations, and thank you for all the organizations indeed.
For organizers out there, you guys can hear this conversation, be a part of that list to say thank you, to get the thanks to as well. Remember, entire month of May, but thereafter, it does not stop in May. Lupus happens every single day, so please make sure you try to support if you can. And, you know, it doesn't cost much to buy a mug for $25, a cup for $7, a T-shirt or something along the way just to start that conversation. Give and extend your blessings to others out there, because they need your support. And this is where we come together, as you always say, Belizeans building other Belizeans. So without any further ado, we go to our next commercial break. When we're back, we're going to be talking to the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Brandon Wamaka said everything and industry and all of that too as well with a bag of chips. But we're going to be talking to them about what's happening about the upcoming Made in Belize trade show scheduled for June 4th. Stay tuned for that exciting conversation. We'll be right back.